The officer slowed his patrol car when he noticed something unusual on the frozen roadside. A large German shepherd tied to a wooden post, shivering violently in the falling snow. At first, he thought it was just another case of abandonment. But as he stepped closer, his heart froze. Around the dog lay 3 tiny, lifeless puppies, their small bodies half buried in the frost. The mother's eyes, filled with despair yet unwavering protectiveness, looked up at him as if pleading for help. Snow clung to her fur. She hadn't moved in hours, refusing to leave her pups even in death. That moment shattered him. He had seen crime, pain, and loss, but nothing prepared him for the loyalty he saw in those eyes. The storm had worsened quickly, turning visibility to almost nothing. Just as he was about to turn back, his headlights caught something faintly moving near a wooden pole at the edge of the road. He slowed down, squinting through the swirling white blur, and froze. Tied to the post with a thick rope was a German shepherd, trembling violently in the cold. Her fur was matted with frost, her breath shallow and weak. Daniel stepped out of the car, boots crunching into the snow. "Hey there. Easy, girl," he said softly, holding out his gloved hand. But then he saw them, 3 tiny shapes lying motionless in the snow beside her. Puppies. The mother whimpered, nudging them gently, as if still trying to wake them. Her eyes, full of exhaustion and heartbreak, looked up at him, pleading for help she didn't understand. As Daniel's throat tightened. He shrugged off his heavy jacket and wrapped it around her shivering body. "It's okay, girl. I've got you now." His voice cracked against the freezing air. He called for backup, his tone trembling. "Dispatch. I need immediate assistance. Possible animal cruelty." But deep down, Daniel already knew. This wasn't just cruelty. It was tragedy. That Daniel's breath came out in sharp clouds as he knelt beside the shivering dog. The snow was falling harder now, burying the small bodies of her puppies beneath a thin white layer. "You've been out here all night, haven't you?" he whispered, his voice trembling. The dog flinched when he reached for the rope, her instincts torn between fear and hope. Slowly, gently, he cut through the frozen knot with his pocket knife. As soon as the rope loosened, the German shepherd stumbled forward, too weak to stand. Daniel caught her before she fell, wrapping his coat tighter around her trembling frame. She turned her head toward her pups one last time and let out a soft, broken whine that pierced the officer's heart. "Come on, sweetheart. Let's get you warm," he murmured, lifting her carefully into his patrol car. He blasted the heater and placed his gloves beneath her head. She didn't resist, just laid there, eyes half closed, trusting him. As he sped toward the nearest clinic, the radio crackled with chatter, but Daniel barely heard it. His focus stayed on the rearview mirror, on that brave dog who refused to give up until it was too late. "You're safe now," he whispered. "I promise you'll never be alone again." The next morning, snow still blanketed the small town as Officer Daniel Hayes stood by his patrol car, staring at the empty road where he had found her. The image wouldn't leave his mind, the mother dog trembling in the cold, her lifeless puppies scattered around her. He couldn't sleep. He needed answers. Animal control confirmed the scene was deliberate. Someone had tied her there to die. That realization hit Daniel like a punch to the gut. Who could do something so cruel? He began searching the area, tracing footprints and tire marks that led into a narrow path near the woods. The snow had covered most evidence, but Daniel photographed everything. The veterinary clinic, the dog, now named Hope by the staff, refused to eat. She stared blankly at the door as if waiting for someone who would never return. When Daniel entered the room, she lifted her head slightly, recognizing his scent. He knelt beside her, speaking softly. "You're safe now, Hope. I promise." The vet sighed. "She's traumatized, officer. It'll take time." That night, Daniel couldn't leave. He sat on the cold clinic floor beside her crate, removing his gloves and placing a hand against the bars. "You're not alone anymore," he whispered. Hope inched closer and rested her head against his hand. A few days later, Daniel sat in his office, sifting through every report, photo, and witness statement connected to Hope's case. Something about her calm obedience, even in pain, had always seemed unusual. That's when the vet called with unexpected news. "Officer Hayes, we found a microchip." Daniel's pulse quickened. The number traced back to a nearby precinct. Hope wasn't just any dog. She had once been a police canine, trained for search and rescue under another department. She had served honorably for years before being retired due to an injury. His heart sank as he read the next line of the report. Her former handler had recently been suspended for illegal smuggling and animal neglect. Daniel leaned back in disbelief. The man who once trusted her with his life had left her to die in the snow. Anger and sorrow collided inside him. "You didn't deserve this," he whispered. Staring at her photo, determined to bring justice, he reopened the file, collecting every piece of evidence, the tire marks, the footprints, and now, the microchip data. He handed it to the chief. "This wasn't abandonment," he said firmly. "It was betrayal." That night, Daniel returned to Hope's kennel. She looked up at him quietly. "It's over now," he murmured. "You're safe, and I'll make sure he never hurts anyone again." Weeks passed, and the harsh winter slowly gave way to pale sunlight. At the veterinary clinic, Hope had begun to heal, but the spark in her eyes hadn't fully returned. She ate only when someone sat beside her, as if silence reminded her of loss. Every day, Officer Daniel Hayes stopped by after his shift, sometimes with treats, sometimes with nothing but quiet conversation. He'd sit cross-legged on the floor, reading her case reports aloud, his voice calm and steady. "You're stronger than you know, girl," he'd say, gently brushing her fur. At first, she kept her distance. Then, one afternoon, she took a hesitant step forward and rested her head on his knee. Daniel froze, then smiled. "That's it. You're coming back." The vet noticed the change immediately. "She trusts you," she said softly. "Maybe she's found her person again." When Hope was finally cleared for adoption, the shelter director handed Daniel a clipboard. "We have several interested families," she said. Daniel looked down at the paper, then at the dog watching him from across the room. "No," he said quietly, taking the pen. "She's already home." Hope wagged her tail, slow at first, then faster, as if understanding. For the first time in months, her eyes held warmth instead of pain. Spring arrived quietly that year, melting away the last traces of winter's cruelty. The once frozen road where Hope had nearly died was now lined with wildflowers and soft patches of green. Officer Daniel Hayes parked his patrol car near the spot, stepping out with Hope trotting beside him, her golden fur shining under the morning sun. She was stronger now, her scars fading, her spirit alive again. Daniel knelt down and placed a small wooden cross where he had found her puppies. On it, he had carved 3 tiny paw prints. "They're watching over you," he whispered. Hope sat beside him, tail still, eyes calm as she looked toward the horizon. That he reached into his pocket and pulled out a gleaming new tag. It read, K9, Honorary Service Dog. With a soft smile, he clipped it to her collar. "You've earned this, partner." Hope barked once, short, proud, and full of life. From that day on, she rode with him on patrols, greeting children at schools and visiting senior homes. Her story spread across the county, an emblem of loyalty and resilience. As the camera of life panned out on their silhouettes walking side by side, Daniel's voice echoed softly. "Sometimes, heroes aren't the ones who wear badges. They're the ones who remind us what love looks like, even after the storm."